Thank you for joining the 3-on-3 Hoops Pod, where we talk all things 3-on-3 basketball and uncover all the benefits of playing in a local 3-on-3 basketball league. My name is Kevin Roberts, and for today's show, if you're a coach looking for an effective, efficient, and fun way to develop your players, quickly develop that team chemistry, then you need to stay right here and check out this interview I had with Coach Jon Schmitz of Babcock Ranch High School in Punta Gorda, Florida. With over 20 years of experience coaching high school basketball from Iowa and most recently moving here to Florida, where last season he took over a brand new program at Babcock Ranch High School. He led the team to doubling their win totals in his first year coaching varsity as a varsity head coach. But the reason I invited him on the pod was because Coach has successfully integrated 3x3 basketball into his programs as a tool to help develop his players, and it was a fun and insightful interview, and I really do believe that coaches, parents, and players will enjoy this and get to learn about some unique benefits of using 3-on-3 basketball as a tool to improve and develop as a player. But before we get to the interview, I quickly want to mention that if you're living in the Phoenix, Arizona area, or if you're living in or around Tampa, Florida, we run local 3-on-3 basketball leagues in both those areas. When I say we, of course, I mean myself and my co-host, Coach Jay. Coach Jay runs his program out there in Phoenix, Arizona called Score Hoops 3-on-3 Basketball. And they just wrapped up an awesome spring league, which concluded at the Footprint Center, home of the Phoenix Mercury and Phoenix Suns. And I saw the highlights he posted, and it was just so cool to see the kids playing on the same court and shooting from the same spots where you see Devin Booker and Kevin Durant shoot. It looked like the kids were having a great time. And what a great experience that must have been for them. But if you want more information about Score Hoops 3-on-3 basketball, go to scorehoops3on3.com or just look up Score Hoops 3-on-3 on social media. For all my Tampa, Florida people, I run a 3-on-3 basketball program out here in Florida, in Tampa, Florida, called 3-on-3 Live. And we are currently taking registrations in for our summer league, which begins June 23rd. It's a 4-week league for boys and girls, grades 2nd through 12. All games on Sundays. Teams will play 2 games each Sunday, and we'll have a playoff on the final week of the season. All games are at Slam Tampa, which is a wonderful facility. It's going to be a fun league, so do not miss out, especially if you didn't get a chance to sign up in last year's summer league. For more information on that, check us out on 3on3live.com. Also, check out any of our social media on IG, TikTok, Facebook. Just look up at 3on3 Live. Okay, so let's get to what you guys came here for. Thank you very much for listening and supporting the pod, and I hope you enjoy the show. And so without further ado, here is the interview I had with Coach Jon Schmitz. All right, today I am joined by Coach Jon Schmitz from Babcock Ranch High School in Punta Gorda, Florida. He has over 20 years of coaching experience. Coach has successfully incorporated 3x3 basketball into his high school programs, moving all the way from Iowa here to Florida, where he spent 19 years as a varsity high school coach. He was selected to take over Babcock Ranch High School, which with a brand new athletic program. He has the opportunity to build from the ground up. So, Coach, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being on the pod.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad we were able to hook up the other day and looked into your 3-on-3 program and the 3x3 program, and then was the genesis of this whole conversation.
Yeah. Coach and I talked, and we had some similar mindsets of the benefits of 3-on-3 basketball. So this should be a fun conversation. I just saw I was doing some research. I saw so you're going into your second year coaching at Babcock Ranch.
Yes, sir.
You guys, and I saw that you last year you doubled the win total from their previous year.
Yeah.
And anyone who comes into a brand new program like that, you know that it's not an easy feat. So congratulations on that, first of all.
Appreciate it. Yeah, the kids did a great job and really took to kind of what we were teaching at the end of the year, and kind of got some momentum going, and that's a big thing in any sport you're coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Coach, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to become a high school basketball coach.
I think, probably 3 things. One, I think it was a lot of luck. It was some passion, basically, I think anytime you're involved with kids, it's just, trying to do right by kids. When I say luck, I mean, I was kind of in the right place at the right time. I was in Burlington, Iowa in 2001, and Burlington's very, very far southeast corner of the state of Iowa, so right on the Mississippi River. Um,
Sounds very country.
well, you know what? They would probably say it's not country, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not country either, though. Um, but so anyway, I got connected with the head coach at that time named Mark Bigler. Mark is a great friend of mine and a mentor of mine, and Mark took me on a very, very good team as a very inexperienced high school coach, and he put me on the defensive side of the ball, and he also put me on player tendencies. And so that was my coaching job as a varsity assistant in big class in the state of Iowa. We had a lot of talent on that team. So I guess really my number one job was just kind of stay out of the way. And anytime you're a young coach, it's, I think you know stuff, and then you get involved and you quickly realize, how much you don't know.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you know that. So I was connected with a man named Jim Barton on the defensive side of the ball, and Jim was a disciple of Mike Jarvis, and he had taken a lot of Mike Jarvis's teachings, color coordinated system on the defensive side of the ball, color number combination, and I learned from Jim, and I still use that system to this day.
Nice.
Um, but I learned, and Jim was of a military background, and he had a great eye for detail. And he and I got along really well, and I just learned from him. On that staff also was one of my mentors named Jim Knapp. Coach Knapp is probably 95 years old at this point now. And there were a lot of times on Saturday afternoons where I would go with Coach Knapp to an establishment called Barracuda's Bar and Grill, and we would go there and we would watch college basketball, and he would talk and I would listen. Um, and I would try to write down many of the things that he talked about on on napkins. I'm not going to say what kind of napkins they were, but they were
Oh,
napkins. And
old school.
yeah, it was, yeah, like that was my coming up as a basketball coach, and I really enjoy telling those stories because those guys, Mark and Jim Barton and Jim Knapp, all took me under their wing and gave me some opportunities. And I had never really thought about being a head coach. And we would always go every year at the beginning of the year to the Iowa Basketball Coaches Association clinic, and it was a really big deal in Urbandale, Iowa. And Coach Bigler asked me, he's like, have you ever thought about being a head coach? And I was like, not really. I mean, honestly, like that.
Well,
At that point, that wasn't I didn't have the goal. Some guys talk about I wanted to be a head coach. No,
mhm,
I just enjoyed sports. I enjoyed kids. I was always involved in everything when I was a kid. I played 4 sports in high school, and so I knew the value of like being involved in those things. And I had good older guys around me. And now,
yes.
fast forward almost 20 years, I'm like the older guy. So my
I do
coaching
think
staff.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I do think there's something to be said. I do think it's a special thing when someone like that asks you, have you ever thought about being a head coach? I mean,
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of coaches. Like I was asked to be a head coach, and
Hmm.
again, that wasn't ever a thought that was in my head that
Yeah.
I'd ever become. I never, because I don't even like to talk in public, like
Right.
so I don't even know how I would become a head coach. So,
Yeah.
but that does say a lot about a person's character and for
Yeah.
someone to be asked. So,
Yeah.
um, but
And then when we um and then I was in job my job was to come up with player tendencies. Like I needed to, like, it was my job. And I took that to heart. And my now wife, her parents purchased me a DVD/VCR um combo.
careful,
Like,
coach, you're aging yourself.
dude, I know, man. I know.
Now I have to have a podcast describing what a VCR was.
And like literally it was rewind, pause, rewind, pause, rewind, pause to figure out like what are the percentages that this guy drives left? How often does he go right? Does he like the spin move? Does he have a crossover? And that's just how I learned to coach, by watching tapes of opponents. So that was kind of my formative upbringing as a coach. The passion part, I really believe that I'm driven to do my best.
Hmm.
I believe our players would say that. Sometimes to a fault, but I think as coaches, we got to know who we are and what we're about. And we're passionate about what we do. And we tell our kids like what we're doing is super important. It's
Yes.
important to our community. It's important to our school. It's going to be important to your families, and it's important to you all. And so I think as coaches, we got to if that's going to be the message, we got to be about that thing too. And then
No,
trying to do right by kids. When we're trying to do right by kids, if we do, then they're going to know that what we're doing is important.
that's correct. That's 100%. I completely agree. So you were basically Eric Spoelstra back then.
Oh gosh.
That's who you're gonna be.
I mean, it was,
That's
I
your
mean,
career track right now.
I mean, kind of back in the day, that's, you don't know that that's going on. You're just
Yeah.
doing the job, And
Yeah.
Coach Bigler, when he gave me the job, I truly remember this to this day. He just said, when I ask you to do something, you need to do it.
Be a star in your role.
That's
What we
right.
always tell our
Yeah.
players. Is there anything immediately that stood out to you in regards to basketball from Iowa compared to Florida?
Basketball is basketball, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. Probably the fortunate piece that I came from the biggest class and the best conference in the state of Iowa. So we had produced the state champion in big class in Iowa for 7 straight years. Caitlin Clark came from the girls' side of that conference.
Okay.
So there were some really, really good basketball players.
She's okay.
Yeah, she's doing all right. She got her first W last night. My mom was fired up.
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the athleticism in Florida, I think, just top to bottom stands out. I want to say this the right way with great humility. I think we're able to scheme some of the kids with athleticism that we've seen, because the decision making is not that great.
Mm-hmm. Or
You
not
know,
where you want it to be.
well, in terms of opponents, we see.
Yeah.
We're able to do sometimes we're able to trick some kids.
And
If you're able to take away transition, right? What do we got?
that's, to me, I mean, coaching coaching a player how to see the game better. That's my favorite part of coaching. I mean, because you can't coach athleticism. They're athletes. They're athletes. You can teach them how to train. You can teach them how to get stronger or whatever.
Yeah.
But as far as teaching, that's kind of the meat and potatoes when you're talking about coaching these kids. So
yeah,
all
absolutely.
Right. So speaking of meat and potatoes, I want to get to the main part of this interview. And you said that you incorporated 3x3 into your basketball programs. Can you explain exactly how you incorporate 3x3 into your program, and why do you believe it's beneficial specifically for your program?
So we use FIBA rules during the summer, almost every workout for probably about 15 minutes. We like it for 3 reasons: conditioning, for defensive principles. You better be a really, really good help side defender and a really good on ball defender when you're playing FIBA rules, and for quick decisions. Those are the 3 biggest reasons that we really like the FIBA rules during the summer.
Okay. Yeah, those are all great reasons. That's part of the reason why I chose FIBA 3x3 in my league. Just because you don't have time to, not that I don't really discourage celebration, but you really don't have time to celebrate a big play because you got to get right back on defense, and you don't have time to argue with the refs. So it's constant movement. Defensive principle that does, I think, for 3x3, 3-on-3, learning defense is such a big part of that, and that doesn't get mentioned often enough. So
yeah, during the season when we go, how we use 3-3-3 is we use it for defending common actions. So we're at a small school right now. We're growing, but we're small. So usually we're going to have 6, maybe 7 players that play in varsity games. So I've got to do my best to get those guys reps. And 5-on-5 is not the best way to do it, because at our school, we're not always going to have quality reps with players lower down in the rotation.
Correct.
So how we do it is what we call 3-on-3-on-3 continuous.
Nice.
So I'll take our 2 best, I'll take our top 6 players, I'll split them evenly. One group will be on one main goal, one will be on the other main goal. And honestly, at the end of the year, as we get ready for tournament play, myself, I know as I aged myself, right? Myself and my 2 other younger assistants, we're running common actions
Oh, okay.
against the team. So it's going offense is going end to end, and the two defensive teams stay on the weak side end. So like if we're defending zoom action, which we saw a ton when we got to Florida.
Mm,
Like we're setting pin down to handoff, pin down to handoff, pin down to handoff. Like, and so you're getting a ton of reps in 8 minutes.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're gonna love, and so I love this defensive talk. So I want to share real quick
Yeah.
a defensive drill that I used to run. It's called
Okay.
defensive cutthroat. I got it from
Oh yeah. We run defensive cutthroat all the time.
Mike Dunlap. So he's in
Possibly, yeah.
his, oh yes, I don't know if you,
I got cutthroat out of Snow Valley Basketball School in Waverly, Iowa, which is ranked by Sports Illustrated as the number one camp in the country.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw this. I went to a coaching you coaching clinic, and Mike Dunlap was one of the guests there. And he
Sure.
explained this defensive cutthroat. So basically, for the listeners, basically what it is you have. So my team, I had 12 guys on my team, and I'll split them up into three. The teams of three. So we had 4 teams, and they were all lined up on the sideline. I had 2 teams playing. Basically, you stay on the court by playing good defense.
Yep.
And so
that's how you accumulate points, right?
And that's how you develop that so that's the first thing we did every year. So we accumulate points on offense too, but it's to motivate the defense. So like for instance, offensive rebound would be 3 points. So if you want to stop the offensive team from getting an offensive rebound, that's 3 points. If you get offensive rebound, you get to stay on, and you'll be the next defensive team. 5 points for defense or for a charge, 5 points for a charge, 3 points for defensive rebound, 1 point for a steal, stuff like that. So but that already changes your mindset because the first thing player wants to do when they step on the court is shoot a 3, or they just want to shoot. And nobody's really working on defense until the coach tells them to. So that puts in your head like we're a defensive team. We got to stay on this. We got to stay on the court by playing good defense. So that's it. I love that.
We love cutthroat.
Yeah. So that's like one of my favorite drills I used to run. All right. So we probably touched on this a little bit, but I guess specifically, how has incorporating 3x3 basketball impacted your players' development?
I'd say probably 3 ways. Probably gives them it's a positive impact on their enjoyment of basketball. Like they
Nice.
like it. You know what I mean? And so as much as as much as we would want to go with the Gene Hackman route of like his statement in Hoosiers that like my practices aren't designed for your enjoyment. Some of that enjoyment is positive.
Hoosiers is a movie, by the way, guys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's not a site. So also the time on task. If the closer we can get to 100% time on task, meaning active engagement by all players, like it means we all complain about the lack of time we have, right?
Yes.
The question I would ask is, are you actually using the time you have? Or is it you talking as the coach, and is it you working just with your top 5 while the other 10 kids stand around and watch? Because there you've got 33% time on task. You're not even close to active engagement.
That is exactly why I'm a JV coach for most of my years. I was a JV coach, and JV is bottom of the totem pole when it comes to gym time. So that's I usually get an hour max. When boys varsity or girls varsity had practices or whatever, so we get the leftover time, and I'm talking about an hour. Like in an hour, like that's it. So we do our stretches outside, and then we come in ready to go. As soon as the coach, he runs over 10 minutes giving his speech or whatever.
48 minutes.
Exactly. So I had to make sure I was real cognizant of the time that we're, getting the player reps in. So that's exactly why I use 3-on-3. So we can use both baskets and get these players. That's the only way for me that you can involve some kind of intensity quickly.
Yep. That's a great point. I love it.
So that's I kind of told you why I started.
I got one more too. Like when you're talking about like why and some of the enjoyment, some of the positive things. So when I was in Fort Madison, Iowa, so that was the second head coaching job I had. My nephews were in our program, and after their middle school season or their elementary season, 5-on-5s, right? There was always a 3-on-3 circuit in South Central Illinois, and then Northeast Missouri. So we'd go around to these small schools, and they're hosting 3-on-3 tournaments. Those were our weekends.
Nice.
Like Keokuk, Iowa. all up and down the Mississippi River. They're all hosting 3-on-3s, and that's what we did every weekend
Wow.
for
Well,
like
that's
5 out of 6 straight weekends. Like that's what we're struggling kind of to find here right now.
and I would say that's the difference between Iowa and Florida right now. We don't have anything like that.
Yeah.
At least not that I've seen. So
Yeah.
that's actually a
But
great
the
idea.
state of Illinois too, they were playing like 30 middle school games.
Okay.
They had middle school state championships.
Wow.
I mean, they played a full schedule. They played more than me as a high school coach in Iowa.
Is AAU big in Iowa?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
There's 4 or 5 major programs. There's a bunch
Okay.
of smaller programs, but
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So how were you introduced to 3-on-3? Were you introduced as a kid, or is this something you
As a
kind of stumbled
kid,
upon?
I would say at the YMCA in Oskaloosa, Iowa, back in the day. Both my parents were teachers, and that's where we got bused to every day after school. And you never knew how many people you'd have, so you're always going to get, if you got a half court, you got a quarter court, you can play 3-on-3, right?
Yeah. All right, so you organized the games.
Yeah.
You also okay. So
Yeah.
what kind of player were you? What's your NBA comp?
Oh gosh. Well, right now, very, very poor man's Nikola Jokic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I
Big
was
man on the court.
a 6'4" post player in high school.
Oh, okay.
And I really, really love to pass. So when the coaches that we have here, we kind of get together on Sundays and play at the field house here in Babcock. And I take some chances with my passes.
Nice. I like it. So maybe you back then they called you Arvydas Sabonis.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not what did they say on Sports Center? He's not your
Not
Vetus.
your Vetus, he's Arvydas. Not his Vetus, not your Vetus, he's Arvydas. Yeah, I like that. All right. Any challenges that you face integrating 3x3 into your program?
Yeah, I think it's the AAUization of what we got going on.
Yeah.
Because kids are going to play 5 to 6 games a weekend, from the time their high school season gets out to the time when, we kind of get them back in June. They have played so much, and in my opinion, most of it's bad basketball.
Mhm.
And that's not the fault of AAU. It's not a blame game. But what I've watched is not very good basketball. I wouldn't call it great coaching. I wouldn't call it, I believe it's a moneymaker. And that's unfortunate. And so kids are not getting, so then when you present an opportunity, right, of like, hey, we've got this like 3-on-3 tournament we could go to, you're going to play for basically let's say you play 3 games, 20 minutes per game. You're going to play for 60 minutes. Most of the comments are, well, I've got an AAU tournament.
Yeah.
They've already committed to that, and probably paid a lot more money than what they're going to pay to go play in the 3-on-3 tournament. So there's that monetary commitment to like honor that thing that you said you were going to do, right?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it also it went from at some point, and like you said, it's not all AAU programs. There's some really good AAU programs out here.
Absolutely, for sure.
And some tournaments that really know what they're doing, and but it just come to the point where it's become more about exposure and getting that highlight video on Instagram versus actual development. And that's my biggest, I guess, downside to AAU basketball. It's just become a big, like you said, kind of a money grabber, a highlight, a chance to get a highlight reel. And so parents just looking to get their kids exposure and all that, but instead of focusing on development. So, all right. So, let's see, as we're starting to run towards the end of the interview, what do you think, or do you think that 3x3 basketball could become a more significant part of high school programs nationwide?
I think so. I think you have to, you got to be willing to just do it and make some mistakes. Like we like a crazy gym. I like people walking through my gym. I like basketballs bouncing. I like my little kid, my 10-year-old son and his friends shooting on the side. Because when you play in big games, it's going to be a crazy environment, right? So if we only establish this sterile coaching environment where everything has to be quiet all the time, what happens when they get in front of 1,500 people?
Correct. Yep, that's true.
So just do it and make some mistakes with it. And then how do you incorporate your 3-on-3 stuff or how do you incorporate 3-on-3 into like your offensive schemes? What I mean, are you run UCLA cut to a ball screen? All right, cool. Do that and then play out of it. Because most of the times against good teams, you're not scoring off the initial action anyway. It's just a way to kind of get the ball moving, which is fine. But yeah, do it and make some mistakes with it. And just be willing to put your best, I think, put your best players against your best players.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron. Give those really good players good competitive repetitions in basketball, in your practice setting. They're going to get better.
Yeah. And I'll quickly add, so the thing that I would like, I don't coach anymore, but one of the things I used to always like to do is create competition within the team.
Yeah.
I think, I didn't play football as a high school player, and I was never really around a football team, but I know enough to know that that's probably the ultimate team sport, because you have different, stations doing different things, and just for one common goal. And I think the way to create that in basketball is to have little teams, so like in basketball, you don't really have an opportunity to do that besides A team and B team. But there are times when other players aren't used to playing with other players because of foul trouble or whatever, and you have to kind of readjust in the game. So in practices, you can get that team closer by having 3-on-3 teams. So I even went as far as giving the teams an opportunity to name their own team. So we'd have trades and stuff during the season. So, and then we all come together at the end. So
I think that's great.
It just makes it fun at the end. And that, players want to be competitive, and being competitive actually gets you closer, because you go through those battles in practice.
That's great.
One last question for you. For the parents listening, what should they know about the benefits of having their kids participating in 3x3 basketball?
If it's done right, it's fast. So it's, when I say that, the decision making is lacking in the area that I'm in, how do we fix it? Okay, that's one way to fix it. Okay, put them in decision making situations. It's fun. Kids like it. We address that. And so then ultimately we want them coming back, right?
That's right.
Okay, so they're going to keep coming back. And then I would say, at the highest level, it's adopted by USA Basketball. And it's a way to teach the game. So we probably need to wake up a little bit in terms of the highest level of basketball that's going on in this country. And you look at the first team NBA, all NBA selections that just came out this week. 4 out of 5 are foreign players, and Victor Wembanyama's coming.
Oh yes,
there's a truth to probably maybe a year from now, it's all 5 foreign players as first team all NBA players.
That's unbelievable. And I'm sorry.
So that's even more, if you want basketball to continue to be great in America, that's a big part of this.
Yes. And we talked about this on the previous pod. One of the major differences between how they play basketball over in the European side, they have practices throughout the week. So they'll have practice 3 to 5 times a week.
Yep.
And then they'll play one game on the weekend.
Yep.
Versus in America, you practice one time in a week, and that's a practice that hardly anybody comes to.
Yep.
And then they play 5 games on a Saturday morning.
That's exactly the model we've gone to. We started our own AAU program, and we play 1 game a week. And this will be the first weekend that we actually play 2 games in a week.
Awesome. And I think that for parents, if they're considering putting their kid in 3x3 basketball, 3-on-3 basketball leagues, that the main thing is focusing on the development and the fun. Not necessarily wins or losses. And I think that's kind of the danger of AAU a lot of times. So.
Yeah.
All right. So wait, one quick question. I did some research, like I said, and I saw that you're a Celtics fan. Is that right?
Big one.
Okay. So question for you.
Yes, sir.
I'm a Sixer fan.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask you, why are you guys so annoying?
Well, I would say that success usually breeds annoyance in the eyes of those that can't quite, come up to that level. So
I see. All right. So the last part of this interview, I want to do a quick rapid fire questions. We like to end this as 5 quick questions. You have 10 seconds to answer these questions, or start answering the questions. So no thinking about it. First thing that comes to your head. Question number 1: if you could coach any player, past or present, who would it be and why?
Kevin Garnett, because he was the true alpha.
Nice. Oh well, Celtics should have known.
I would take him. Hey, I would take him in Brooklyn too.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Favorite Boston Celtic memory, and it cannot be Sixer related.
Um, oh gosh, anything with Larry Bird 1984 finals. I remember Boston fans storming the court when I was young watching on CBS.
That was his first championship, right? I think that was his first one.
Second.
Second.
81
Okay.
was the second or the first
Nice.
one.
Nice. Favorite basketball memory you have as a kid?
Probably it would have been my senior year of high school when we were the smallest school and big class in the state of Iowa, and we clinched the first state tournament berth in 19 years, and running into the stands and hug my parents.
Oh, nice. That is a good memory. All right. You get to invite two guests to your favorite restaurant for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Excluding family or friends. Who are your two guests, dead or alive? And where are you guys going to eat?
Gosh, this is hard. I would. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry about that.
That's fine.
I would say Mike Ditka, and maybe Bobby Knight.
Oh, nice. I like that. And where you guys eating at?
We'd probably go to Ditka's in Chicago, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I like it. Have you been there?
Just think yeah, once. Yeah, okay. I just think they both had such a presence about them.
Oh yeah. I'm so one of my favorite things. I know Bob Knight received his criticism and all that, but
very fair.
I think he was great when he was doing commentating for college basketball on ESPN. He was my favorite color commentator.
Yes.
His knowledge is like through the roof. And I would love to be a fly on the wall. That's actually a really good one. All right, last question. All-time 3-on-3 team, past or present players.
Gosh, okay.
You get 3 players and 1 sub.
Oh, I'm not going to need a sub. So.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. It's going to be Jordan, Bird, and Magic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure you don't want to sub in there? Because I mean, you never know what happens.
We would take Garnett for a sub.
Okay. I was trying to see if you'd pick the player that you're going to coach. All right, Coach. Thank you so much for joining the pod. This was a great interview. Gave a lot of insight to how you incorporate 3x3 basketball. And any last words you want to say? Message to your team? I'll cut it up and send it to you. You can blast it on your social media, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, just very excited about this opportunity. I really appreciate what you're trying to do. As I've grown up as a coach, part of my heart right now is how do we help develop young coaches? Because we need a lot of good people that are willing to stay in a tough profession. So anything that I think we can do to get the word out is great. So I appreciate your efforts, Kevin. I really do.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, man.